Godzilla minus one.
Hell yeah.
I convinced my real life friend, who is a smooth brain.
Yeah. He's a waterhead, dude.
He does not watch anything out of his comfort zone. He doesn't watch anything foreign. He won't watch anything with subtitles. He won't watch Into the Spider-Verse because it's a cartoon.
But he'll watch other animated movies.
Yeah, I said,
he'll watch, like,
so you don't like Toy Story? And he was like, well, that's an animated movie. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're both animated. Why is this one a cartoon? They're both fucking animated.
Bro, it's Pixar.
So yeah, he's very close-minded about things, and I told him, listen, you gotta trust me.
Yeah.
I'm your pal. You gotta trust me on this one. Best Godzilla movie ever made. Just go see it.
Yeah.
And so I convinced him, and he went and saw it, and he said it was fucking amazing. What do you know? You listen to me, good shit happens.
Yeah.
I know it's crazy.
Dude, cash is always on the yellow brick road, dude.
Yep.
Unless you're heading to the bathroom, then it's not a good road. But most of the time, the direction you give,
Yeah,
gonna lead you to Oz, dude.
Yep.
You're gonna find him.
Yeah, so I watched Godzilla Minus One when it came out like a year ago, and I gave it a 4, and I thought it was awesome. And I had it in my rankings for the year at like number 14. And walking out this time, I moved it up from number 14 of the year to number 5.
Holy shit.
And I moved it to a 5-star.
Hell yeah.
I was blown away by how incredible this movie is.
Do you think, did you go in, so the first time we went into it, we didn't know what the budget was, right?
No.
Do you think that like kind of put it into perspective on the second watch, like knowing how small the budget was and like how efficient they had to be when creating this thing?
Well, it's something that is cool, like, to think about once you finish the movie, but it's not something I think about when I'm watching it.
Okay.
So, like, me giving it a 5, that's even more impressive, is that I gave it a 5, like, without the budget being taken into account.
Okay.
So, that, because
that's what
I mean, sometimes I'm nicer on movies when they have a low budget, because you know, you want them to succeed and you're rooting for it, but like this isn't. It's not a sympathy 5. It's
like I'm softer on like B-level movies. Like if it's just like very clearly low budget production, like guys just trying to like put something together. Like this is a legitimate blockbuster movie that they have just done so effectively.
Yeah.
And like cut as many corners as they could to condense down the product to just be cheaper than anything else, but also like not have to sacrifice the quality of the movie.
Yeah, with this re-release, when the movie started, it starts with like a 10-minute like behind the scenes documentary on how they made it and like going into the visual effects of it. And it's crazy how much of it was effects, because obviously like there's certain things like Godzilla and buildings getting destroyed that are
they didn't go buy a Godzilla,
but things that are in like a David Fincher type way, like things that are normal that you could just go film, they had to do CGI for, because I guess sometimes it's more expensive to like there's a big boat in Godzilla Minus One, like a warship, and they don't have a warship, and I guess they couldn't get access to one. Maybe it's too expensive or whatever the reason is. So they built like a wall. Like they built a wall that looks like the side of a ship, and just had people stand in front of that one wall for like the whole movie anytime they were on a ship or next to a ship, and then like created the rest of the boat through the computer. And it never looks like that at all. It never looks bad. It always looks like they're just at a dock with a boat.
Yeah.
So obviously all the practical effects, all the computer generated effects look incredible. That's why it won the Oscar for it. That goes without saying, but it's I think it's a perfect movie. I think it's I typed out a pretty lengthy letterbox review, giving my thoughts on Godzilla -1, and I think it's the blueprint for how to make a blockbuster movie. I think it's perfect in every way. I think Godzilla, just to start off, is done incredibly well. It's one of the scariest versions of Godzilla. That's partly because of the direction. The direction's incredible, and he, for the first time that I've seen in a Godzilla movie, utilizes POV shots to establish scale.
Yeah.
And like the first scene when they're on Odo Island and the camera is under Godzilla from a human's view up from the island, like looking up at Godzilla. Mm-hmm. And there might be like occasions in the American movies where they'll do that, but not often. And it's such a great way of making you feel in danger and feeling what the characters are going through, by having a POV shot looking up at Godzilla. And so yeah, it's the scariest. I love the design. It's computer generated, but it has this like old school animatronic look. The way it moves, it kind of feels like the Man in the Suit type of Godzilla movies. Yeah. And I love his his face design. He has like this grin on his face the whole time while he's destroying people. Yeah. And it's like he's enjoying it. Like it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking psycho, like swimming up to the island and stuff.
Got a devilish grin the whole time.
Yeah, I love everything about the Godzilla design. And it's like subtle stuff that they changed in -1 that like, why has no one else ever done this? Like the reworking basically of his atomic breath, of like how the effects that it has on stuff. And then his look, this return to form of like the people are the protagonists and this is a big monster. And I feel like the swap from like Godzilla being this evil big monster to this like protector of the world, like it was cool when they made that switch, but we kept that for like ever after they made that change. I guess just because he became such an iconic character in like pop culture that you don't want to like demonize him again, but like it works so much better. And then being able to set the scale of like the people are kind of the focus and they're the ones that are threatened, I think is what built that scale up higher, versus like in the American ones, Godzilla shows up to fight something that's also giant, and then the military is always involved and they have giant aircrafts and equipment and stuff. Like in -1, he picks up a fucking subway train and like takes a bite out of it, and you realize like this is a fucking train he's holding in his hand, like a toy. Like I love that shit.
Yeah, I think the things that the American movies get wrong is like there's a ton of kaiju in like the Godzilla lore, and a lot of things that people are excited, like fans are excited to see, but it really just doesn't work that well to have a movie where Godzilla fights another big monster. It is much more compelling when it's Godzilla is the threat. Yeah. And the humans are trying, because the humans are such, like, they have no real chance of defeating Godzilla. Like, he's such a force. He's so huge. Like, you can't shoot him. You can't really harm him in any way. And it just feels like such a monumental struggle to, like, have to defend yourself against Godzilla. Yeah. And there's so many things I think the movie gets right, but the heart of the movie is the characters. And it is, like, by far the best story and characters of any Godzilla film. And I haven't seen the Japanese ones, like the old school ones. So maybe there's some of those that have good stories. I'm not sure, but going off what I've seen, it's not even a discussion. The American movies have awful stories, like all of them. The characters are bad, and you're just going to see Godzilla or you're going to see Kong, and they have good visual effects, and that's it. That's all those movies have is good visual effects. With this, like, I just find this main character, I'm gonna pull up his name because it's hard to remember names in foreign films.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Koichi is his name.
Yeah.
And he's a kamikaze pilot in World War II that abandons his mission, and he gets scared and doesn't want to do his job. He doesn't want to kamikaze himself. And it leads, like, when he's on Odo Island at the beginning, his hesitation and his fear gets a lot of people killed. Because in reality, I don't think it did. Because I don't think that gun would have done anything to Godzilla. They're like, oh, it's a 20 millimeter gun. Like, it can kill anything.
Yeah.
I think even if he fired it, it wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
The outcome would have been the same, except he would have died too, because he would have made Godzilla mad.
Yeah. It's the perception of what it is.
But yeah, but he feels like he got all these people killed. And I feel like it's just such a great, like, story about war and the effects of it and the effects it has on people, because he was a soldier and he has all these, like, I guess regrets is kind of the word, but he feels like a coward, and he feels like he got so many people killed. And that's how soldiers feel. Like, even soldiers that do their job and, like, kill people, because that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much guilt that these people deal with, because even though they killed people who were on the other side and, like, were, you know, that's what they were supposed to do, like, you still killed people, and it still doesn't feel right. And a lot of these people go home and, like, they don't feel like they deserve a happy life and a family, because they've done these awful things. And that's what happens in this movie with Koichi, and he like stumbles into this life, like, on accident. He's in the street, and this lady just hands him a baby and runs away. He's like, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then he finds her, and, like, she just kind of starts staying with him because she needs somewhere to stay. And it's sort of this just, like, weird off-kilter dynamic that they have, where, like, he's not really, like, romantically involved with this woman, and they're just kind of like friends.
Yeah, they're like brother and sister almost.
Sort of, yeah. It's just such great character work. He has these nightmares, and and this woman obviously, like, loves him and wants to marry him, and all his friends know that. Like, his friends he works with goes to his house and, like, you know, talks to him about it, and they're like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, this is a great woman.
She wants to marry you. And he keeps saying that his war isn't over, and that basically he doesn't feel like he deserves it. And
yeah, or like he's gonna bring bad stuff with him, because he still, like, has this inner turmoil of not feeling like he did his duty for his nation, and, like, he's haunted by the past. Like, he doesn't want to move forward with these things that are still bringing him down, and in turn will bring her down almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a lot of what the movie is about, is him, like, overcoming this trauma and overcoming his past. And there's also a lot of commentary with Japan and how a lot of these Japanese citizens talk about how Japan doesn't value their lives, and how there's no ejection seats in their planes, and, like, they have half their population dying of starvation, and, like, all these things that the kamikaze, like, they sent Koichi on a kamikaze mission when the outcome of the war was already decided.
Yeah.
And it's not going to make a difference whether he does or not, and they still sent him to do it because that was just showing like how much they cared about their citizens. And the whole movie is foreshadowing Koichi giving his life to repay for his mistakes.
Yeah.
It over and over again. It's referenced and foreshadowed that he's going to do that, and he's going to because Godzilla kills his wife-ish person. Noriko is her name. I'm just going to say his wife because that's easier. It's not his wife. And then whenever that happens, like this flip switches on in him, and he just like all he cares about is destroying Godzilla. And spoilers. Hopefully everyone's seen Godzilla -1 because it's awesome. But at the end of the movie, I'm skipping over a lot of stuff that's really fucking awesome.
Even the idea that they come up with to try and stop Godzilla, like it's no idea if it'll work. But like
they keep saying that too. Is like people keep asking, so this is gonna work, and he's like, no. Yeah. But like we have to try something.
Yeah.
Like, do y'all have any ideas? Like trying something's better than not.
We've never seen this thing before. Like any living thing that we know of is gonna die from this. So I'm hoping it works to this giant monster. Yeah. But like the idea of what they came up with, I think is so smart. I think in the old Godzilla ones, they always seems like they come up with some kind of like secret military weapon that they like build and try out. But like
something like fiction, something made up.
Yeah.
But they're using like real things in this movie, like real science.
Yeah.
Because these are scientists that are trying to figure this out. But eventually, at the end of the movie, he decides that he's gonna like kamikaze into Godzilla with explosives on his jet, and then his not friend, they're not really friends, but the guy from the island in the beginning with the limp, like fixes his plane and installs an ejection seat for him. So he's able to kill Godzilla and also eject and survive, which I feel like is really beautiful to me because the whole movie was setting up him giving his life, and I feel like it's the film saying that you don't have to give your life to be a hero. And and then also it being the guy from the island who like hates him because of what happened, and then he fixes the ejector seat and is like, dude, the movie has so much heart, and
you almost start
it's
crying,
about forgiveness, and like it's about I went on a tangent on my Letterboxd review, you guys should check it out, but it's like the whole movie just gives me this like feeling of like the human spirit and love and compassion and all these things just culminating. And like these are not words I say for blockbusters ever. Like,
dude, this is also like you're saying this is about the human spirit, love, and forgiveness, and a Godzilla movie, where he's killing people and destroying cities. They managed to fit that in. Like I leave Godzilla feeling good.
I also feel like him surviving and using the ejector seat was also a commentary on suicide, where Koichi felt like his only out and his only way to find peace was doing this thing. And because at the time he thought that Noriko was dead, and he said that like he was determined like this is the only way out, and he survives, and then after he survives he finds out that Noriko's still alive. And I feel like that's sort of it's not as bad as you think, and like death isn't the answer kind of message. And I just think that every single thing in that movie works for me. I could watch it again right now. And on top of all these like great emotional and like story-based things and commentary-based things, I think it just works so incredibly well as a action movie. And the parts that want to be scary are really scary. The scene where they're first out on this little wood fishing boat, and then Godzilla shows up and like starts chasing them, and they're like dropping these bombs and like
trying to do anything
they can to survive, because they're at such a distance. Like, this thing it can squeeze them like a pea. Like, it is so much bigger than them, and that scene is so fucking intense. And then they get saved at the last second by the other ship, like this warship coming to save them. And then Godzilla goes over to that warship that's 200 times their ship size and just eats it. Yeah. Just, like, destroys it on, like... And it's like, yeah, so if it just did that to the warship, like, imagine what it would have done to this little fishing boat.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna be like Pinocchio in the whale's gut, dude.
Yeah.
Just swallow you whole.
Yeah, but Godzilla showing up in, I forget the city. The city that Noriko works in, but she's on the train and Godzilla shows up, and just the visual effects of him tearing everything down, the POV shots, the atomic breath is fucking cool. The way that the sound cuts out, and it's sort of like a real life explosion, how like when an explosion happens far away, it's silent at first, and then the sound comes. And
it's not like this, like, laser beam either.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, shooting out so fast.
Yeah.
It blasts through everything, and then, like,
hits. The energy, like, ripples everywhere.
Yeah, and then it hits, and then, like, a fucking mushroom cloud appears.
Yeah.
Like, an actual nuke went off.
Yeah. Also, his back spikes, like, turning blue and shifting out of his body. The coolest shit.
Yeah.
The score is so fucking good.
Yeah.
And dude, I got chills and cried multiple times during this movie.
Yeah. I get hard every time I see Godzilla start to light up.
Yeah.
Because it goes like from the tail up to his head.
Yeah.
I'm hard as a rock. Even the American ones, like when the movies aren't even that good. Like if I see him charging up, I'm like, dude, fucking give it to him.
Yeah.
I'm about to come.
Yeah. I think it's just, and like Noriko on the train and Godzilla coming and picking up her train and her hanging out, like, God, it's just so fucking good. His Koichi's dynamic with his work coworkers on like the fishing crew, and how they have that young guy that's like never been in a war before and really wants to, and they don't. At the end of the movie, they're about to go on this mission to like take down Godzilla, and they're like, we're not letting you go. At the beginning of the movie, they were making fun of him for not having been to war, and then at the end of the movie, they're not letting him go, and they're say like, that war, not being in a war, not having fought in a war, is something to be proud of.
Yeah,
and that almost made me cry right there. Like just. Oh God, it's so fucking good, dude.
Yeah. Well, you have all these like ideas almost projected on you of like what you think is required of you, like especially like in that area of like, you know, I have to do my duty, I have to do this, I have to do that. When like you don't, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Like you're okay. Especially a young man like trying to prove himself. Yeah. You know, and as you know, a man in that environment, like he's gonna want that. And then like guys that have been through it are like, dude, this shit sucks. Like, don't worry about it.
Also, when Koichi comes home from the war and like his village is destroyed and he's looking for his parents and he finds out his parents are dead, and his neighbor finds him, and she like hates him now because she found out he was a kamikaze pilot and he's still alive, so he fucked up and didn't do his job. So she calls him a coward and says like people like him are why his parents are dead and why her kids are dead, and just says awful things to him, and hates him for like a good portion of the beginning of the movie. And then he starts this relationship with this woman and like this little girl, and
she starts
babysitting the girl, and like their relationship starts getting better and they become really close.
Yeah. To
where like later in the movie when Noriko dies, like she's there for him, and that's just another element of the story that is goes back to this just like love and compassion and forgiveness type thing that is just some of the most beautiful like filmmaking I've ever seen, and it's for a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, it's crazy that you like we're gonna do a Godzilla movie where he's actually just evil, wreaking havoc, but we're gonna do forgiveness and love message. It's like, what?
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah, every single thing in that movie works for me. I have zero flaws. I think it's perfectly paced. I think the visuals are perfect. The score's perfect. The acting's great. The story's great. I mean, like, the only movies I have over it for last year now are Oppenheimer, The Holdovers, John Wick 4, and Guardians 3.
Yeah.
And those 4 are just like, I want to put it higher, but I just can't. I've seen Guardians like
really
4
stacked
times.
Year, dude. Guardians is like, well, obviously, like Oppenheimer is amazing. John Wick 4, one of the best action movies like I've ever seen.
Well, that top 4 I just listed are 4 of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
It just happens to be one of those years where like so much of my shit came out.
Yeah.
Because like if Godzilla -1 came out this year, it'd be by far number 2 behind Dune 2.
Oh yeah.
But last year was just so stacked. But yeah, it's so fucking good, dude. I need to find a steelbook somewhere.
I was just about to say, like, it's like with how much I liked it the first go around, I was like shit, I don't have a copy of it.
Yeah, they just released a steelbook recently. I need to get my hands on it.
Does it look awesome?
Looks pretty cool.
Shit, talk about your next one. I'm gonna Google it now.